Hello and welcome to the Schaefer Center on the campus of Southwestern Assemblies of God University in Waxahachie, Texas. You are watching the SAGU Sports Network. I'm Adam Ferguson, joined by my broadcast partner for the first time in 2 years, Devin Webb. How are you, Devin?
Doing great, Adam. It's so good to be back, and I'm ready to get this first game under my belt.
Well, you're in store here tonight for the Wayland Baptist Pioneers versus the SAGU Lady Lions. But before we get into anything, we've got our sideline reporter, Kat Burns, met with Coach Moore a little earlier. Kat, what's Coach have to say?
Thanks, Adam. Coach Moore, back-to-back games with a big presence in the middle. Would you say that the strategy is the same from last night?
Yeah, our strategy is going to stay the same as far as we hope that we have Paulier Dawkins on the front row with their best middle, and she's blocked a lot of balls last night. We can get that up again today. This young lady's probably the best middle in our conference, so if we can block well and just slow her down some, we'll be in good shape.
And Molly McBride came in the third set with 5 kills to close it out. Would you say that she's back to 100% after her injury?
I'd say Molly's recovered well from her injury. She's playing at a good level. Got 2 very good outside hitters vying for the same spot. So tonight I think Molly will get the start, see how she does. She only swung 7 times and got 5 kills on 7 swings. She had great hitting percentage last night.
And what would you say it's going to take to come out on top tonight and pull out a win?
We've got to out-quick them, and they're a big team, but I think that we're quicker than they are. But it's going to be a great match. We have to play well. We have to play the game that we know we can do. If we'll do that, we should come away with a W.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Moore. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, Kat.
Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Kat. There you have it. And, of course, last night, the victory against Oklahoma Panhandle State University. SAGU, 3 straight sets, dominating sets, 25-17, 25-13, and, of course, 25-14 to end the night. Devin, let's get into the players tonight a little bit. The Lady Lions, walk us through some of the 2 players that really keep an eye out for tonight.
So we've got 2, and the first one I'm going to talk about will be no stranger to us here who have been here for a while. So Molly McBride, number 5. We're watching her warm up right now. She's looking really, really good. And I talked to Coach Moore a little bit before the game, and she was out all of last year with a shoulder injury. She went through surgery, had to go through physical therapy, all of that, which as an athlete is really difficult, having that kind of setback right in the middle of your career. So she is back and ready to go. And last night she had an outstanding performance, and Coach Moore could not say enough about her. So she is definitely someone to look out for in this match today. And then our second one is number 17, Paulier Dawkins. And Adam and I were joking before this broadcast started that Coach Moore, was saying, how are we going to beat this team today? How are we going to beat him? And he said, Paulier Dawkins. So I think, she's a really, really strong presence on the front row for us. And so if you want to see some exciting action from the front row, make sure to watch out for number 5 and number 17.
Of course, you mentioned Molly McBride last night. The third set came in and really played role of the closer, had 5 kills in that huge third set, giving SAGU the win in the match, 3-0 over OPSU. Jumping to the other side of the net now, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of Wayland Baptist Pioneers. First being Megan Sherratt. We heard Coach Moore talk to Kat about that big presence in the middle, and that's who you're going to be looking for. Megan Sherratt, so far in the year, she's got 104 kills, which puts her right up there in the top 25 as far as hitting percentage, and then as well as her service aces. She's ranked top 30 in the nation. She very good on the offensive side of the ball, as well as the defensive player for OPSU, Jordan Bredding. She actually ranks in the top 45 in digs per game in the entire nation. A very good defensive player for this OPSU team, as you see OPSU getting ready to take on the Lady Lions here in Waxahachie. They are led by head coach Jim, you got to correct me on this last name, Jim Giacomazzi, their head coach, coming back again. It said, excuse me, returning to coaching in 2007 after 15 years in the private sector. So he's enjoyed his time here so far for the Wayland Baptist Lady Pioneers. They are 8-3 on the season, 2-1 in conference play after a tough loss last night. Your Lady Lions, led by Coach Moore, in the 17th season here for the Lady Lions. We talked about it last night. Coach Moore says this is the best start that he has ever had here at SAGU, and we talked about it again. There are some banners with his name and his team, his picture up on the walls here in the Schaefer Center. So could we see another banner raised this year? We'll let you know as the season goes along. But don't go anywhere. We're going to send you down to the court for the live look-in at the opening prayer, national anthem, and then, of course, the announcement of the starting lineups. Wayland Baptist, SAGU, coming your way right here on the SAGU Sports Network.
Embracing 5 core values: respect, integrity, responsibility, servant leadership, and sportsmanship. We ask you to use a participant, official, or spectator to abide by these values by creating a positive environment in which our athletes may participate. Our officials may work and you, the spectator, may enjoy. We hope you enjoy this contest. And now at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as we honor God in prayer. And remain standing and face the flag as we honor our nation with the singing of the national anthem by SAGU student Derek Borden. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for this time here. God, I pray for all the players and officials that you protect them from all injury and all harm. Lord, I pray for each individual here today. Pray that we all serve you and give you all the glory for it. Pray that you protect us on our ways home. It's in Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we once were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets rent the land, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sailors, that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And now, the starting lineups for the Lady Pioneers. Number 2, Mallory Ellis. Middle hitter, number 5, Kelly Kozak. Right side, number 7, Lindsay Schwab. At middle, number 12, Megan Sherratt. Left side, number 13, Amber Daniel. At center, number 18, Elizabeth Caroli. And at libero, number 4, Jordan Breeding. Head coach for the Lady Pioneers is Jim Giacomazzi. And now the starting lineups for your SAGU Lady Lions. Number 2, Callie Shaw. Outside hitter, senior, number 4, Jessica Sodich. Junior, number 5, Molly McBride. Sophomore, number 6, Brittany Stoloby. At center, sophomore, number 8, Sophia Ivy. At middle hitter, senior, number 17, Paulier Hopkins. And at libero, junior, number 7, Celie Bruce. Head coach for the Lady Lions is Hank Moore. Assistant coach is Nick Moore.
And there you have it, the starting lineups for the Wayland Baptist Pioneers and the SAGU Lady Lions. Walk you through some of the Sooner Athletic Conference standings real quick, as this is a Sooner Athletic Conference game. After the win last night, the Lady Lions improved to 11-3 on the season, 2-0 in conference play. And Wayland Baptist, after a tough loss last night, dropped to 8-3 overall and 2-1 in conference play. Still early, a lot of games left to play, but right now the SAGU Lions look very good.
And just talking to Coach Moore before the game, you know, I got a vibe from him that he does not think this is going to be a match where they're just going to lay down and then let the SAGU take the game. So I know that even after coming off of a tough loss the night before, there's no better motivation really than to try and come back and prove that you can beat that next team. So SAGU is really going to have to come together and play strong against Wayland Baptist today.
And Wayland Baptist, always a tough test in really every sport we play here at SAGU. We cannot avoid them as they are in our conference. We'll see if that plays true tonight again after that tough loss last night in 3 sets by Wayland Baptist to Texas Wesleyan, another great team in the Sooner Athletic Conference. Only have 1 loss in the year, and that loss came from your own SAGU Lady Lions. So the Lady Lions, a good start to the year. Served that time by Brittany Stalaby, is taken in by Texas Wesleyan. We are underway. Dawkins looking to that back row. Played on by the Lady Pioneers. And there's Stalaby diving for it, could not quite get there.
And you notice there, if you were paying attention to where Stalaby landed on the court, she was a little too far sucked into the floor. So she got her weight on her heels a little bit, which you see her trying to make that last-minute dive. And that's kind of a volleyball player's worst nightmare, is to get your weight caught on your heels. So she'll be watching that the rest of the match, I'm sure.
Senior Lindsay Schwab to serve now for the Pioneers. One of the senior leaders on this team for the Pioneers.
All right, so there you see that call. That's a serve violation. So we had a foot that touched the line. So that line judge down there is doing a great job of watching that. So now that's an easy point for us, and we like those freebies.
Got a lot of those last night against OPSU. Good dig that time by Callie Shaw. And SAGU's got a chance to set something up here. Get it over to Bruce, and she's going to dump it over.
So there you see a double call. Seeley was right there trying to get enough strength in her legs to push that ball from the back row. And if she didn't have her feet set and her hips in the right position, that's an easy double. So that's an easy fix, luckily for us, that we won't see again later on.
Good serve that time by the Pioneers. Bruce just has to dump it over. They set it up, and it works. Got it to Megan Sherratt, that big hitter in the center, wearing number 12, able to power it past that initial line of defense.
And that's a great play by a strong hitter to be able to hit an off speed when the Lady Lions defense is expecting that hard hit, because she's a power hitter, and you do that off speed and it works.
Ivy looking for Dawkins. Dawkins gets it over, and a quick second hit. Good stop by Shaw to keep it alive. There's Sherratt again. Shaw can't quite dig it out, and it goes out of bounds. Big lead here for Wayland Baptist, 4-1. Serving now Amber Daniel, a freshman for Wayland Baptist. Blocked by Sherratt, gets it back under control.
Something you can notice here, the Lady Lions are struggling a little bit with that first contact on the ball. So we've had a lot of serve-receive errors, not necessarily non-fixable ones, but unless we get the ball right in the setter's hands, we can't really run a great offense. And same thing when we're playing defense. If we can't get that dig in a good spot, then our offense is kind of out for the count.
Here we see a long service error that time by Amber Daniel. Gives SAGU a point right back after that error of their own. Here we see Nikki Almaguer come in to serve. Did a fantastic job last night. One of these new players for Coach Moore. Does her job very well as far as service goes. Shaw to Ivy, back to Almaguer. And she gets it over past Megan Sherratt, who is there by herself up front in the middle of the net.
See, and even there, that wasn't a perfect dig by Shaw, but it was high and in the middle of the floor, which is always what you're aiming to do. So our setter has enough time to get there and make a a competitive play.
There is Sherratt, and Sherratt powers it down past Dawkins and Sodich, who were so very good last night on the defensive side. It'll be 6 serving 3 as we see Sherratt step back to serve now. Handled by Sodich, over to Ivy. And here comes Dawkins on the slide. Sodich can't quite get it over. And Shaw's just got to dump it, and they've got a chance here with the Pioneers. Another one of those calls that go against SAGU, giving Wayland Baptist that 4-point lead right back.
And setting may look like a really easy thing to do, but if you don't have your feet set and your hips, like I explained earlier, your hands don't really have a ton of control on the play, as some people may think.
And here is Sodich, his first attempt at a kill for the game, and it is good. And that's what she does so well, brings back to this Lady Lions team that we haven't seen since 2013. Some time off for Sodich, and she proves still ever the athlete.
I joked with Jessica before the game that I was going to just keep calling her name this whole time.
You don't have to joke about it if she keeps doing stuff like that. And then the Lady Lions get another one back here. That kill attempt was long by Kelly Kozak.
Something that Coach Moore really coaches strongly is unforced errors. We want the other team to make those errors, and we've seen Wayland Baptist here make several in a row, getting us back in the game, only down 2 points now.
Good block that time by the Lady Lions. They're going to give it right back to her. And Bo making a good diving stop, punched over by Ivy, and it falls in. SAGU pulls within 1 here in set number 1. Great play by Bo to dive to her right in one hand, keep it under control. Bo back to serve now. Taken in on that back row by Amber Daniel. Give it up to Mallory Ellis, dug out. And here's Sodich again. And Sodich puts it right down the line. Beautiful kill.
Everything about that play was so beautiful. I mean, the pass was right where it needed to be. Beautiful set, and Sodich just put it away.
Bo still serving, possibly the best server on this team for the Lady Lions. Does it so well. Here is Ellis again. Can't be dug out that time by Callie Shaw. And Wayland Baptist finally gets one back here, going back up 8-7.
Anytime you have a really strong server like that specializes in that one area of the game, you really want to take advantage of that. When they come in on the floor, you want to try and get ahead if you're playing, especially like a team like this that's close in talent to us. So next time she comes back in, we'll really want to take advantage of that.
Alan Viewer gets it to Sodich, and Sodich again. So high on the elevation, able to power it down. Hasn't missed a step, not one. Back to serve now, Sophia Ivy, as SAGU ties up at 8 apiece. And that's going to go long, service error, and that, you know better than anyone else, that drives Coach Moore crazy.
The majority of what serving is so mental, and so that's why Coach Moore has very little patience for a lot of missed serving, because all you got to do is get back there. This is what he says: get back there and get the ball over the net. And that's a main mental thing. So now Sophia will have an opportunity to recover mentally and get her next one in.
Sealy Bruce diving after it with one hand, can't quite get there. We've seen the Lady Lions do that a lot tonight. Is that an indication of being a little out of position?
So we call that a chicken wing, which is not your, it shouldn't be your go-to move. So you should always try and play defense with 2 arms. You have so much more control over the ball. So that kind of indicates I don't want to say laziness, but you just have to get your feet there in order to have both hands in place.
Callie Shaw rises up and powers it down. Another point for SAGU, a close first set here, as it's going to be 9-10 as Sodich goes back to serve. Played on by that back row. And SAGU's got a chance here, gets it to Ivy. Over to McBride, her first action of the game. That's going to be a point rewarded to SAGU.
So we have a net violation there, which is another one of those unforced errors. So we would have continued that rally with the great defense played by Wayland Baptist, but instead their front row, if you get a little off your game and if your feet aren't set before you jump, you get in that net, it's an automatic point for the other team.
Sodich to serve again. 10-all here in set number 1. Taken in by Jordan Bredding. And Ivy was in front of it.
So right there, I see Coach Moore making his arm, showing her what to do. So she was set in place, but instead of taking one step over, you always want your arms to be in front of your body, and she let her arms get outside, and you lose control of which direction the ball's going to go.
Sodich to Bruce, to Ivy. And here we go. The Lady Pioneers have something going here. Good block tandem there in the front row by Hartline and McBride. Another good block, this time by Sean Hartline. And SAGU's got a chance to set something here. They have the Pioneers reeling. McBride goes up, and a good dig by Mallory Ellis. And we've got a good rally here going. Bruce over to Shaw. And Shaw goes cross court with it. Could not handle it was Elizabeth Paroli. And after a good rally, SAGU ties it up one more time, 11-all.
And if you'll notice, Celie Bruce, number 7, our libero, she did a really smart thing right there. If the libero steps in front of the 10-foot line, she can't set the ball with her hands. If she does, then our front row can't jump. So right there, she made a really smart play and allowed us that kill.
And there we see Brittany Stalaby again serving so well. She did it last night too in sets number 2 and 3, giving SAGU a ton of points in a row. Did Stalaby again, continuing that momentum to tonight. SAGU's got a 12 serving 11 lead. Sherratt powers it down, and we see another one of those, the chicken wings.
Chicken wings are good, but not always in volleyball. They taste better when they're not in a volleyball game.
12-all here in set number 1. Serving now for Wayland Baptist, Jade Jones, another one of these seniors from Georgetown, Texas. Bruce handles it over to Ivy, to Shaw, powers it down, handled by Jones. And they get it to Ellis. Ivy to McBride. McBride rises up. Celie Bruce tries to get it past that scrambling defense, couldn't do it. Sodich to Ivy. Now back to Bruce, a little miscommunications there. Bruce to Ivy, over to McBride. A good strong kill attempt dug out by Jordan Bredding, what she does so well as the libero for the Pioneers. And another good rally here, fighting hard to McBride. Powers it down again, and this time it will fall. Gets it past Amber Daniel. McBride had three or four chances there, that rally at that point, and finally hammers it home.
And you can see that McBride is fully back, because if she was struggling to hit, if she wasn't doing something that was competitive, they wouldn't keep feeding her the ball. But you see, in that rally alone, she got 3 or 4, and it ended up working out in her favor.
Molly McBride, again, looks to be back to 100% after missing all of last season with a shoulder injury. McBride to Ivy, back to Shaw. And Shaw gets it back to that back line of defense. A diving effort by Jordan Bredding, but nothing happening. And SAGU takes their biggest lead here of set number 1, just 2, 14 serving 12. Shaw back to serve. Taken in by Ellis. They're looking for Sherratt. And Sherratt gets it right at Callie Shaw. Cannot handle it. And there we see the big hitter for the Pioneers. Again, number 12, Megan Sherratt, doing what she does best. Amber Daniel now to serve for the Pioneers. Sodich takes it in, over to Ivy, over to Dawkins. And Dawkins, a good attempt there, but SAGU's gonna have the chance to do something. Sodich to Ivy, back to McBride. And McBride, a strong attempt. Sodich gets it over to McBride, they just gotta dump it over. And Sherratt powers it down and had the Lady Lions scrambling. Almost had a chance there to get it back over, but just punched out of bounds by McBride.
So you could see the turning point in that rally when Callie Shaw went up and reached up for the ball when Sodich was behind her. You always have to trust that your defense is in the right spot. And Jessica Sodich was right there waiting for that dig, and we probably could have got a little better offense running there.
And there is the Coach Moore patented slide play, this time with Paulier Dawkins going cross court, finding that back corner. An incredible Incredible shot by last year's All-American and this year's senior, Paulier Dawkins. Amaguer to serve. And they get it to Sherratt, but the block attempt goes out of bounds. Point, Pioneers. The serve is handled by Seeley Bruce, over to Ivy, back to Sodic, and Sodic just poetry in motion. Ivy to Sodic, powers it down, 16 serving 15. Wow.
It's like nothing has changed since I've seen her play 4 years ago.
Jessica Sodic, the explosiveness to get up and power it down. 1 point lead for the Lady Lions. And Bo now back to serve. And a mental error there. It looked like it was going to go out of bounds. Amber Daniel did not get her hands out of the way in time.
That's why it's so important when you're in serve receive. You've got to know where your feet are on the floor in relation to that back line. That way you can know if you have to reach up and get the ball with your hands above your head, it's going to be out of bounds.
Bo to serve again. Looking cross court to Ellis, and Sodic with a diving effort. That's a good cross court kill that time by Mallory Ellis. Caught Sodic out of position there.
Yeah, it looked like there Sodic was almost into her spot on the 10-foot line, and she would have been able to take one step to the left if her feet had been set, but that ball was such a nice cut shot, she didn't have time to make that move.
Bruce handles the serve. Ivy over to Sodic again. Jessica Sodic, her head is above the net easily. If she comes down, she's hitting her neck on that net. That's the kind of vertical Sodic has. Wow, 18 serving 16. Sophia Ivy to serve now for the Lady Lions. Handled by Ellis. And she found Kelly Kozak, who was able to just dump it past that front line of defense. Not your typical shot there from your middle hitter, but it works. Pulls them back within one.
A good indicator when you're playing defense, you always have to watch your hitter. Yes, keep your eye on the ball, but when your hitter's going up, making their approach, if their elbow drops down, they're going to tip the ball. So that's the number one thing you've got to look for. And there you see that ball shanked off on defense. You got to stay up on your feet. Falling down is always your last resort because you really lose all control of the ball.
Knotted up at 18 apiece. Mallory Ellis after the ace, serving again, handled by Bruce to Ivy, looking for Shaw. And Shaw can't get it across. That's going to give the Pioneers a lead right back, and we're in a close one here in set number 1. Ellis still to serve. 19 serving 18. Now McGear takes a stab at it, and SAGU's just going to try to get it over, and they cannot, and Coach Moore is going to call a timeout here as you felt the momentum shift heavily in favor of the Pioneers.
So I think I would say that almost the most important part of a set is between that 15 and 20 point mark, because, you know, really the game can change at any point when you're getting up to 15. People can get a 3-point lead. A team can, you know, be down so many points. But when you're at the 15 and above, it's really crunch time. And so that's the most important race right there from 15 to 20, because from there it's a lot easier to keep that momentum going. So now SAGU has made several unforced errors, and like you said, that shift in momentum is almost tangible, and we're not even actually in the gym. But, you know, you can really feel that among the team. They look defeated. They're starting to throw even more arms out. They're not getting their feet to where it needs to be on the court to take that defensive play. And all of those are signs of mental defeat. And I think it's highly underestimated how mental of a game volleyball is, because there is so much live action on the floor. But because the sets are so fast, the rallies are so fast, you have to be able to recover mentally just as fast as those plays are taking place. We
will see how the Lady Lions battle back here, being down 2 here in set number 1. Coming out of the timeout. And it is still Mallory Ellis to serve. Here again, 20 serving 18. And we have the ball come on the court. One of our ball boys not doing a very good job of getting it across the court to his partner. Ellis, the serve, handled by Almaguer. Over to Ivy. And Sodich just has to dump it over, and Wayland Baptist has a chance to pull ahead to huge here. And that kill attempt goes long. Amber Daniel, the Lady Lions, may have gotten a little bailout there. They had a chance to set some offense up.
So this right here, this is what I was talking about earlier. When you get a freebie like that and you now have the serve, especially at this point in the set, we've really got to take advantage and pull ahead.
Jessica Sodich to serve. Gets it into that back row, and here is Daniel. And Daniel can't get it over. That ties it up. 20 all here in set number 1.
So this is where people would give Coach Moore a high five for calling the timeout when he did.
Absolutely, and here is a timeout now by Wayland Baptist head coach Jim Giacomotti. And he's got to get his team under control here. 20 all now. They gave up those 2 straight points out of the timeout, and now very clearly that momentum needle back on the other side to SAGU.
And it's been, gosh, maybe less than 2 minutes since the last time out. So the fast-paced nature of this game, that's why every point is so important. And it just gets more important the closer you get to that 25 mark. And now I'm sure that the coach for Wayland Baptist over there is having the same conversation that Coach Moore was just having. And SAGU has got to keep this momentum. This is a timeout that's a pretty signature move to call to ice a server, because we're in the last 5 points of this set. So they're wanting the server to lose mental focus, because that is such a mental part of the game, and try to ice the server. So it's going to be up to Sodich here to keep that mental focus and pull ahead with just 5 points to go.
5 points to go in the very important set number 1. You always want to walk away into set 2 having that 1-0 lead. It is such a mental advantage, and we'll see if the Lady Lions can do it again today as they did last night. Sodich to serve. Fielded by Amber Daniel. And SAGU's got a chance here. Sodich to Ivy. Over to Hartline. Hartline can't get all of it. And we're going to get a double hit. There we go, Devin. That's what SAGU needed.
I was going to call it on this broadcast if the ref didn't call it. And you saw there that libero, same thing. She didn't have her feet set. She tried to push the ball in a direction where her hips weren't facing. And that's almost a sure double every time.
Sodich to serve again, taken in by Bredding. Getting over to Daniel. And Daniel, miscommunication on part of the Lady Lions, and they give that point right back. 21 all.
So that's kind of frustrating for all 6 people on the floor. You know, you could point fingers at whose responsibility that is. Everyone should be running toward the ball. There should be no one standing, and right there, almost all 6 were standing watching the ball.
Callie Shaw's kill attempt is tipped, but it goes out of bounds. Point Lady Lions, they get it back. 22 serving 21. And there you go. You see they set it right up for Callie Shaw off the fingertips of Amber Daniel. And now we see Brady Stolaby coming in to serve, up 1. Serve taken in by the libero, Jordan Bredding. Get it over to Daniel again. Back to Daniels. Taken in by Sodich to Ivy. Looking for Shaw again. Why not? Good dig by Jordan Bredding, but it falls. SAGU takes a 23-21 lead. That is a huge, huge point for the Lady Lions.
So that was a beautiful play right there by number 8, Sophia Ivy. If you guys notice, the whole floor, both sides of the court, was all moving one direction with that defense. And Sophia noticed that, so she decided to push it back to our right side. And that, I think, was probably the smartest play you could make in that moment, because it takes the defense off of what they were expecting. And even though it was a great dig by Wayland Baptist, they were all still so frazzled, hence that lack of communication.
Jordan Bredding, as she's done all season, very good on the defensive side of the ball, able to dig out that Callie Shaw powerful, powerful hit, as she does so many times. Now, it seems like they're going to the same person here to try to close out the set, and that seems to be the junior Callie Shaw.
I mean, Coach Moore always says, and really any coach, if if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
Feed the hot hand, exactly.
Callie's doing great right here. She's able to switch up the speed, which I mentioned at the beginning of the game. If you are a power hitter, you really round yourself out as a useful player if you can do that power shot, but also do off-speed things, and Callie's definitely able to do that. So we've got Wayland Baptist that's feeling a little frustrated right now. They're not communicating. Lots of tension probably on the floor right now, I would imagine. So I would say keep feeding Callie until we need to try something else.
SAGU with a 23 serving 21 advantage here in set number 1. And it is Brittany Stalaby back to serve again. Taken in by Bredding. Looking for Daniel. Sodich to Ivy to Dawkins. Dawkins goes cross her body. Bredding over to Daniel again. Good dig by Stalaby. Sodich to McBride, and McBride powers it down, giving SAGU a 24-21 lead and set point. Way to battle back after the timeout by Coach Moore and these Lady Lions. Down 18-20, now taking a 24-21 lead. Stalaby serve, taken in by Bredding. And Daniel just has to punch it over, and SAGU could end it here. Over to McBride. McBride just has to tip it over, and it's going to work. The Lady Lions take set number 1, tightly contested, 25-21. And what a way to battle back by these Lady Lions.
You can just tell the difference if you can watch the floor right here. The Lady Lions are all hustling over to their bench, and Wayland Baptist are all just kind of strolling and definitely defeated. And, you know, even in a set where you just lost, 25-21 is not that big of a deficit, honestly. And so if I were Wayland Baptist's coach, I would be saying, ladies, we need to pick up our mental focus. We need to kind of look on the brighter side of life in the moment and realize that now the score is back at 0-0. And if I, was in the Lady Lions huddle right now, I would be celebrating. They were down, but they also made a lot of errors. So this is where it's important. You don't use that momentum to think that you've got it in the bag, but instead you look at, taking that positive momentum and partnering it with making less errors, which hopefully will make that gap a little wider for set number 2.
And if you are the Pioneers, you have to, like you said, you have to feel maybe a little defeated here after that first set. Felt like they should have probably walked away with it after taking what seemed like at the time a commanding 2-point lead. But SAGU again walking away with a 25-21 victory in set number 1. SAGU taking set 1 by a score of 25-21. As Jordan Bredding is going to take the first serve for the Lady Pioneers here in set number 2 after a tough loss in that first set. Sophia Ivy over to Polly Dawkins. The kill attempt blocked. Back over to Shaw this time. Dug out that time by Paroli, and they've just got to get it across. Sodich to Ivy. Over to McBride, and McBride powers it down. Can't dig it out, Jordan Bredding. And SAGU takes the first point.
And as mean as it may feel, this is a great opportunity for the Lady Lions to really harp on the defeated feeling that Wayland Baptist has right now. So that kill right there is a great way to come out of the gate in the second set.
There's Sherratt. She really didn't have an opportunity there at the end of the first set to do anything. Bredding over to Daniel. Shaw to Ivy to McBride again, and McBride powers it down. Molly McBride, we saw her back to form in the third set last night, and she is back to her dominating fashion.
So anytime you receive a free ball from the opposing team, so that could be either when they pass it over the net or even if they use two hands to push it over, if it's high enough to be considered a free ball, you've got to take advantage of that and turn that into an offensive kill. And the Lady Lions have done that great these past 2 times. And Molly McBride just really lucked out with that.
She got lucky. That ball came back across and was easily going to land out of bounds, but fortunately for her, it goes around that antenna. And SAGU takes a 3-0 lead. You see smiles all around. So a very lighthearted SAGU team here to start set number 2. Wow, McBride and Dawkins team up for a block effort there, and nothing right now is going right for the Pioneers. They find themselves down 4-0.
And the Lady Lions are really dominating every aspect of the game right now. We've had consistent serving, which is where the game obviously starts. And we have great offense. We've seen that by Molly McBride. And now we've got a great defensive block there at the net. So, they can't really get past us in any sense of the game.
Sodich to Ivy, to McBride again. Good dig by Mallory Ellis. And they've just got to give it back to SAGU. Shaw to Ivy, over to McBride. McBride just pushes it over. And now the Pioneers have a chance here, and a good, looked like she got it to her in motion, but a little too far back. Mallory Ellis just hits it into the net.
So if you're watching this game, I think you can easily tell the difference between how the Lady Lions are when the ball's on their side of the floor versus Wayland Baptist. And it looks kind of like Wayland is just flailing around, and that is not a way to play the game. You can't successfully finish plays if you're just throwing arms out, running all over the floor, trying to get the ball in play. You really have to be in control. So that is, a huge difference in these two teams. And I'm going to take a minute right now, being a former SAGU volleyball player, I'm not going to say how many years ago that was, but, I'm having a lot of fun reminiscing these times of being on the court. And I know personally that one of SAGU's finest, Taylor, formerly known as Taylor Calverley, now Taylor Morgan, is watching the broadcast. So I just want to give her a shout out and say I wish she was here sitting next to me watching our old court.
How deep has the libero been the last 8 years for the Lady Lions, going from Calvary Morgan to Emily Smith, now to Celie Bruce doing a good job of the libero position, holding it down. Coach Moore, he's been blessed with some good liberos in the last 8 or so years. And the Lady Lions coming out of the timeout by Coach Giacomazzi, leading 5-0 here as Callie Shaw remains back to serve. We saw her with I believe it was a 9 or 10 point streak last night with her on the serving line. And she's got herself a 4-point one right now. Sherratt. They got it over to Daniel, and it's blocked by Paulier Dawkins. And there she is, the All-American. One of the things she does best defensively right there.
And what I mentioned before this set started about how SAGU has that positive momentum, but they still needed to eliminate their errors. And of course, as I'm talking about this, we make one error right there. But before that, we don't have, and that's not an unforced error. We're up to block. That was a good play by Wayland Baptist. But you can see the difference in the scoreboard, even this early on in the game. When you take out your errors, it's so much easier to get ahead and really pull out of being too close to your opposing team.
And SAGU gets it right back as Paulier Dawkins rises and tries to power it down, but the block attempt goes out of bounds from Elizabeth Paroli. And now we see Nikki Almaguer back to serve the Lady Lions with a 7-1 lead.
And honestly, this is how it should have been in that first set. I don't think the game should have been that close, at least not right at the beginning. But here you see, we don't want to get in that rut right there where we're just trying to fall to get the ball up. We want to keep playing like we've done these first 7 points and get our feet to the ball, hustle, and play clean volleyball.
2 serving 7 as Amber Daniel back to serve. Bruce gets it over to Sodich. Sodich pushes it over. Now Ellis gets it to Sodich, to Ivy, to Dawkins. In one motion, can't get it down. And now Ellis to Shaw, to Ivy, going back to Almaguer. A good attempt there from the yellow line. Ivy to Sodich, and a good rally here, best one of the second set. Over to Ellis. Blocked down out of bounds, and that's going to be point Wayland Baptist, making it 3 serving 7.
See, and now if you have a ball that plays off the block like that, the first time it happens, it's okay. It's not really seen as an error. But the more it happens, the blockers really do need to get their hands turned into the floor so that doesn't happen again.
Wayland Baptist, incredible defense and hustle to be able to get that back. They're going back to that slide play to Dawkins. This time it's blocked. Ivy over to Sodich. And Jessica Sodich right down the line puts an end to that rally.
See, and that's a great example. I mean, that Dawkins, that hit, wow, that was amazing. But when you have all the momentum and Wayland Baptist had that great defensive return, you've got to switch things up. So even though Dawkins is hitting really well, we've got to move things around on the floor to kind of throw off the defense.
Bow to serve. They're going over to Sherratt. Almaguer to Ivy to Sodich again, looking for that back corner, but there is Jordan Bredding. Back to Sherratt. Ivy to Sodich. And Sodich right into the net, and you see her a little frustrated on that one.
And I think what happened there is she tried to take that second contact over the net and kind of throw off Wayland Baptist. A good mental decision, but you've got to, again, make sure your feet are set in the right spot so that the ball, and you really do have to judge the ball too. If you jump before the ball is high enough in the air, then you can misjudge.
And Almaguer goes to her knees to field that serve, and it goes off the side of her forearm, it looked like. And that right there is unfortunate for the Lady Lions.
And that again shows why your feet are maybe the most important part of your body in a volleyball game. Everything starts there. If your feet aren't set, then it's hard to follow through.
Sodich looking for that back corner, can't find it this time. It's a little long. And the Lady Lions asking for a tip, but not rewarded one. I couldn't tell from our angle if it was tipped. But it's going to be 6-8. The Pioneers battling back here. They were down 7-1 at one point. Sodich now pushing into that back line. They've got to get it over. Can they do it? They cannot. The Lady Lions get one back as Sodich went away from the power game this time and just tried to guide it to that back corner, and it works.
I think she could tell. She knew she was frustrated, and that shows a smart and mature player. When you can sense that you're frustrated, and instead of trying to take that anger and frustration out on the ball and continually hitting it long, you've got to switch things up, and that's what that push was, and a very smart play.
Bruce over to Ivy. Back to Shaw, and Shaw with a powerful kill, and is not going to be inbounds, so it's going to be a point for Wayland Baptist. And SAGU again maybe asking for a tip, but that's not going to get rewarded.
And this is the part of the game that, you know, whatever side of the floor you're on, if the call's not in your favor, you hate that it's in control of the line judges and the referees. But that's part of it. You can't hold on too long to that, and you just have to keep playing.
It's going to be a point rewarded to Wayland Baptist as they're going to call a violation.
So here's the argument that's going on right now. Number 8, Sophia Ivy, is back row. She's the setter. She went up. The ball's really, really tight at the net. As a setter, you can't go up and be above the plane of the net if you're in the back row. You can't jump up. You've got to keep your feet on the ground. So the argument that's going on here is that the setter wasn't above the plane. She jumped, had both hands like she was going up to set, which would have been okay. But the referee, as you can see, is not going to go against his initial call.
8-9, good comeback by the Pioneers. Almaguer gets it over. Bredding to Daniel, over to Ellis. Ivy to Bruce, over to Sodich. And we got a good rally here. SAGU does not want to give this lead up. Daniel initially blocked at the line by Hartline. And SAGU has allowed this game to be tied at 9 apiece. And Wayland Baptist doing a good job of not folding, not crumbling here in set number 2 after being down big. Bruce to Ivy to Sodich, blocked back down. And they started to celebrate the point, and the Lady Lions are back, and they're going to get the point. We saw the initial blockers celebrate like they had gotten the point there, Devin. The Lady Lions sticking with it, and they get it.
That's why you never celebrate too soon. Even if it's a great play or a great serve, you can't start celebrating before the whistle is blown, because in a case like that, we take advantage of that, and now we're back in the lead.
Kelly Kozak blocking the initial Jessica Sodich kill attempt. And there we see an ace for Sodich after she had her kill attempt blocked. And the Lady Lions take that lead right back, 11-9.
And I must say, it's an especially good feeling when you can ace the libero.
And there is Bredding. Over to Paroli. They get it back to Ellis. A good job by Seeley Bruce. Ivy has to get it over. Bredding to Paroli to Jones. And that big attempt will go well out of bounds from Sodich, as that was an absolutely killed ball by Jay Jones.
Now, Sodich was in the right spot on the floor, and you see there, that's one of those last-minute decisions. Do I go for it with my arms? Do I go for it with my hands? Sometimes you make the right one, sometimes you make the wrong. But all that really matters is the recovery of how she comes back from an error like that.
Hartline going across her body, hits the net, and SAGU's get another point, a lucky point that time as it goes to the net, and it just gets over enough to land in front of the Pioneer defenders.
No matter how lucky it is, we want in that point, it's okay that the net is on our team.
To serve now is Stalaby for the Lions, 12-10. The serve is up and taken in. by Daniel. Over to Paroli, back to Daniel. That's going to land inbounds. Sodich puts her hands up. They're going to say it was tipped at the net by Shaw or Dawkins. And that may have just grazed the fingertip of Shaw. Redding now. Ivy to Callie Shaw. Bredding over to Daniel. McBride now to Ivy, back to Dawkins, and Paulier Dawkins, the All-American, right in the middle. Powers it past everybody.
So you see there, they weren't expecting, Wayland Baptist was not expecting that quick set to the middle. Their libero was sucked into the court and in the middle of the floor, so that corner on that right side where Dawkins just shot was wide open.
Daniel gets it over, McBride feels it over to Ivy, back to Dawkins, and Dawkins, the height and elevation to just point it straight down past the defense. Incredible by Paulier Dawkins.
And that play takes a lot of core strength to be able to jump up, keep your form, but use all that force to set the ball without it being a throw and make that strong tip. Incredible.
Ivy over to McBride this time, going cross court, which she does so well. Dawkins at the point of attack, able to just get up and nail it home, and SAGU gets a 4-point lead here. A good job by Paulier Dawkins to take advantage of the ball that was coming back across and taking the initiative to just hit it right back over, and the scrambling defense of the Pioneers allows SAGU to take a 15-11 lead.
And that play right there, I mean, Dawkins had maybe half a second to make that decision, and when you're playing on the front row, you really have to be quick to judge, okay, am I close enough to the net to make this attack worth me taking it over the first time, or do I need to step back a little bit, play the ball high and in the middle of the court so that our setter can make an offensive play out of it. And obviously in that scenario, Dawkins made a great decision, but you really have to be sure of your placement on the floor, which again is why it's always so important to be self-aware. Know where you are on the floor, how far away you are from either the baseline or the net, so that you can make those game time decisions that'll help your team.
A 15 serving 11 advantage here in set number 2. And last night against OPSU, John, our producer, was doing the commentary with me. We talked about the first to 15 in any given set, and that's really the first milestone that you want to hit, and SAGU here has hit it. They didn't do so in the first set, but in the second set, pretty much dominant fashion.
And really, you know, when you're trying to coach, whether it's a new team or a new team that's playing together for the first time, you really want to do each race to the 5-point mark, so 5, 10, 15, 20, and yes, once you get to 15, it becomes more crucial than ever to fight for each point.
Dawkins pushes it. They're going to get her here. It looked like she got underneath it with a lift. And that's going to give a point right back out of the timeout from Coach Giacomotti, making it 12 serving 15. Dawkins, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That right there is what I was talking about in the previous rally. Dawkins goes up, has that core strength. She had a hard tip like that, but it wasn't a lift or a throw. So you can see how easily that can be misinterpreted if your arm is not in the right place, if you're not high enough above the net. So that's why that's a risky play. But when you can do it right, like Dawkins has done several times, it's worth it.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Devin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Teamwork.
16 serving 12 as Almaguer is back to serve again. Taken in by Bredding. To Paroli, looking for Daniel, and SAGU's got a chance here. Ivy looking for Sodich. Sodich goes up, and a great diving stop by Bredding, and they get it back over. Great defense. Ivy to Dawkins. Dawkins powers it down, but blocked at the initial line. Getting it over to Daniel, and Daniel's kill attempt is going to be long, but tipped at the net by the Lady Lions. And they really get a break there because that looked like it was going to be out of bounds no matter what.
And again, I feel like I'm kind of a broken record, but right there you see number 10, Nikki Almaguer. She's at the back of the court. If she would have known where she was in relation to that baseline, there's no sense in her throwing her arms up. And you saw that play of desperation trying to touch the ball. There was no need for that if she would have known where she was on the floor.
Dawkins gets it over. Another diving stop by Bredding. She is all over the place, and you're going to – I see you calling for it. Every time I see you calling for it, and there the Lady Lions get it.
This is why it's good that I'm off the camera, just using my voice, because I'm pretty passionate over here making sure the ref makes the right call.
We need to invest in a studio camera so we can get some of this on film. 17 serving 13 now as Bo comes in to serve again for the Lady Lions. here in set number 2. Again, the Lady Lions taking set 1, 25-21. This set not as close as it was in that first one. Bo over to Ivy. Ivy with a quick touch and a good job by Amber Daniel to be ready for it. And that ball's going to go out of bounds. The Lady Lions get another one. 18 serving 13 now as Bo gets her second consecutive serve. And it is on its way. Taken in by Sadie Staton. Get it over to Ellis. Ivy to Sodich. Sodich with the power, but blocked at the line by that big middle hitter. And that's going to be a point for the Pioneers after a good block by Megan Sherratt is able to get it back over, and the Lady Lions just couldn't recover.
And right there, Almaguer, great effort on that defensive play. She may have been just a little too far sucked into the court. You saw she had to take her arms outside of her body, so she wasn't really able to get the best dig possible. You always want to be moving toward the ball instead of having to reach outside.
And SAGU's going to get a point. It looks like on a violation on Wayland Baptist. Not sure what the call was there. The play just kind of died. Regardless, SAGU's going to take a 19-14 lead, and here you see that race to 20 now after that initial race to 15. SAGU could get there on this point. Quick second hit is over, but Bruce ready for it. Ivy over to Shaw. Shaw just gets it over to Daniel. Back to Ellis. Almaguer to Ivy. Over to Sodich. And a good dig by Bredding. Back to the initial SAGU, the front line that time. Madeline Hartline was ready for it, just put it right back over.
And that's another one of those scenarios. You've got to decide, do I take this? And I know for a fact that Coach Moore works on that, those overpasses in practice. He wants his middles to go up and attack those balls. It's basically like a free ball. You want to be able to nail that down. What a great example of practice paying off for that.
And ball pushed over, and SAGU's got a chance here. Callie Shaw, another good dig by Bredding. And Almaguer over to Ivy. At the Hartline. Hartline is able to just dump it over. And typically the power-hitting Hartline doing a good job here of mixing it up a little bit, giving SAGU a 7-point lead now.
And watching these subtle nuances, if you will, on the court, SAGU, the Lady Lions, laughing, joking, still coming together in the middle after every play, which is so important. But they're all upbeat, happy, ready to keep playing. Wayland Baptist kind of high-fiving each other, not really, but so much of it is mental. And here, as we just missed a serve, an unforced error at a really unfortunate point in the set. But here, it could go either way. Wayland Baptist could get the momentum back on their side, but right now, Lady Lions still have it, so it'll be interesting to see what plays out here.
15 serving 21 after the service error. Back to serve is Elizabeth Paroli. Almaguer takes the serve over to Ivy. Back to Shaw, goes cross court with it, taken in by Daniel, over to Paroli. Back to Ellis, and that block from Hartline and Shaw is going to land out of bounds, and that's going to be another point for Wayland Baptist. And don't look away, a comeback could be in the mix here. 16 serving 21, only a 5-point lead for the Lady Lions here in set number 2. Bruce handles the serve to Ivy, looking for Sodich, and Sodich says no comeback on my watch. Right there, as good as it gets SAGU a point back, 22-16.
And right here, it almost felt with that one block error that we had in that last rally, the momentum shifted just a little bit, but we got it back fast enough 1 point later, and here we are back with 3 points to go. Momentum's back on our side.
Ivy to Bruce, setting it up for Shaw. And Shaw powering it down past Jade Jones and Elizabeth Paroli, giving SAGU that 23-16, that 7-point spread right back. And a good job to kill any sort of momentum that the Pioneers had. And we're going to see a substitution here as Fallen Berry is going to come in for Kelly Kozak, it looks like. There's a little conversation going on here with the head official.
So it looks like the coach for Wayland Baptist is arguing if there's any touch on that ball. And again, you just have to trust that head referee. And in this case, it's in our favor, but we saw earlier in this match it didn't go that way.
23 serving 16. As there is a newly entered Barry. As Shaw gets it over, and a diving effort that time by Amber Daniel. And the Lady Lions are going to have set point here, 24 serving 16, as the wheels seem to be coming off for the Pioneers as they started this game in set 1 very strongly. But here in set 2, the Lady Lions have just dominated. Sodich over to Bredding. They're looking for Ellis again, and Ellis, wow, strong hit. But it's going to go out of bounds, and the Lady Lions taking set number 2, 25-16. Very different story in set number 2 and set number 1, as the Lady Lions just really, honestly, they look dominant here in set number 2.
And as I mentioned after set number 1, that can make such a big difference. If you just eliminate your errors, yes, take the momentum with you, but eliminate those errors and you'll see a 9-point deficit instead of 4.
We have assistant coach Nick Moore with our courtside reporter Kat Burns. Kat, how does Nick feel about that second set?
Thanks, Adam. Nick, would you say that the Lady Lions are performing as planned tonight?
I think in that second set we did a lot better than the first set. The first set we weren't blocking at the net like we were hoping to be, but we've made some adjustments and we're getting things done.
You talked about those adjustments. What adjustments need to be made to finish off this third set with a win?
Really, we just got to stay strong at the net. We got to pass well and serve receive, and then the offense will take care of the rest.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Kat.
Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Kat. And there we hear the key word, adjustments. And that's something Coach Moore does, as well as any coach here in the Senior Athletic Conference that comes with his 17 years here at SAGU. Adjusted after that first set into the second one, and really, the Lady Lions look like a different team, walking away with a 9-point win in that second set.
And it really helps, even though we do have several freshmen that are seeing the floor, it does help when you've got those senior, junior, mature players that have been around for a couple of years. They have a good understanding of the nature of a full match of volleyball. And honestly, coming from high school into collegiate sports, it's a totally different game. It's so much more fast-paced, so much more emotion goes into it. You get so much more involved. And honestly, when you have those mature players on the floor, it makes such a difference to be able to pull out and after a loss, for example, Lady Lions aren't having to deal with that right now, but let's say, they're struggling with the loss and you see them celebrating their two-set win there.
Look at the difference in demeanor right now between the Lady Lions bench, who are dancing, waving to the crowd, and then the Wayland Baptist bench, heads down, sitting on the floor. They look like a team that is down 2-0 right now.
And see, the key here, there have been so many iconic volleyball games where this has been the exact scenario. A team is down 2-0, they come back and win it in 5. Now, again, obviously, we would not want that to happen in this scenario, but that's the importance of having the mental strength to be able to pull through. Same thing for the Lady Lions right here. Yes, they're celebrating, they're happy as they should be, but they have to go back onto the court at the very first serve of this third set, make sure that they're fighting for every point just like they have been, because the game is not over. That's why there are 5 sets in every single volleyball match, to give a scenario like this a chance to totally flip and have an ending, a twist.
An ending twist. We will see what's in store here in set number 3 as both teams appear to be ready, as SAGU holding on to a 2-point lead, or a 2-set lead rather. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on all of our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We've got everything. If you want to stay up to minute with the most recent SAGU sports news, go ahead and give a follow. You'll get score updates when the games end, news throughout the week, anything you could possibly imagine on all of our social media. So go ahead and stay connected. We'll try to give you updates on the football game, which should be kicking off in about 5 minutes as the Lions take on Texas College on the road. That is if this game is not, or if this match is not over before we have any updates for you. But we'll give you any updates we get. So go ahead and give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. Looks like the Lady Lions will start set number 3 off serving the ball as Brittany Stolaby awaits her turn. Some discussion going on between the statistics table and our are 2. Stalaby finally ready to serve. And set number 3 is underway. Here is Bredding. And the first point of set 3 awarded to the Lady Lions. Saw that head official's arm go up the one way. Just a mental mistake. I almost thought he was going to award that point to the Pioneers. But SAGU gets the first point. Stalaby, or Bredding rather, fields that serve from Stalaby. Here's Ellis, and see you calling for it. Every time you call for it, they call it. It seems like. I mean, you want to go down there to the crow's nest.
No, I don't want to be. I don't want to be in that spot. But the easy thing to be able to tell, if the ball has a significant amount of spin on it, that means you've made contact twice. The ball should be just floating in the air if you make contact with both hands. So it's kind of an easy call to make most times, just like that. You see there, you don't want it called on the Lady Lions maybe necessarily, but you see there it's got to be an even playing field. If the ball has spin, then that is more than likely a double contact.
Back-to-back doubles here as it's 1 serving 2. As Lindsay Schwab serves to the Lions, and Molly McBride reading the defense, being able to get high enough to adjust and push that ball to where honestly nobody was.
That was a great play. I mean, it was almost like she was floating in the air just infinitely. She had no sense of gravity. She had enough time to take a look at the floor and place it in the perfect spot.
Bredding takes that Callie Shaw serve over to Daniel, dug out by Bruce. Ivy with a little second contact gets it over, and that ball blocked by Polly Dawkins but lands out of bounds. Awarded point to the Pioneers. And it's going to be 2 serving 3.
And usually what happens in that scenario, if the ball goes that far out, you can tell that the blockers are not pressing the net enough. That's a term that blockers are very familiar with. You've got to have your body pressing the net to make sure that it has nowhere to go on your side of the floor.
Shaw to Ivy, over to McBride. McBride's kill attempt is going to go up into the stands, and SAGU takes that point right back from Wayland Baptist, as Molly McBride again looking very good here today after getting really 1 set of action last night. Has played in all 3 and has really been back to her dominant form as the #1 hitter on the team 2 years ago. Really now she's looking at being maybe the 3rd or 4th hitter. Just goes to show you how deep this team is by Coach Moore.
And it must be such a good feeling for her to come back from such a hard injury, especially as a hitter. When your action is on the front row, you use that shoulder to block, you use it to hit, you use it to do almost everything that your existence as a player is. And for her to be able to recover and be strong and this competitive is amazing.
That ball looked to be blocked by Callie Shaw, but a little maybe miscommunication there. She was unable to get to it. And that's going to give the point right back to Wayland Baptist, as Shaw just kind of takes a stab at it and it goes out of bounds.
Hesitation when you're playing defense is probably the hardest thing to go against. If you hesitate at all, even a half second, you really lose the advantage to have a strong defensive play. So you've got to be confident and know that you're going where you need to go. And right there, an unforced error that honestly, that spot is wide open on the floor, that front left spot, but you've got to be able to place it just in the right spot. And right there, we're just a few inches out of bounds.
That's the 3rd time we've seen Ivy try that second contact, little set over, and it hasn't worked 1 time yet. We'll see if she goes back to it. Daniel gets it over to Almaguer, over to Ivy, looking for Sodich. And Sodich powers it down, but it goes out of bounds. Kind of came off the wrist at me, or the hand rather, at a little odd angle. And a rare misplay by Sodich. We're not used to seeing that.
So there's so much that goes in to try and do that line shot that she just went for. You've got to turn your hips. You have to swing your arm all the way through your body. And it looks like she might have just overcorrected. But it doesn't matter because that was amazing.
She made that correction. You're always at a loss for words when that happens. Sodich has a mishit in the previous point. And just as we're talking about an overcorrection, she corrects it. On the next point and powers it down, giving SAGU that lead again, 6 serving 5 as Bo steps back to serve.
And again, that shows a mature player. When you make a mistake, you know exactly how to fix it. You're not afraid to try again. And that's what we saw by Sodich. And right there, you know, you come in, your responsibility is to serve. You've got to just be mentally there. Hopefully we can have a return error from Wayland Baptist, so we're kind of even
it out.
Yep.
6 all here in set number 3 as Elizabeth Paroli is back to serve. And there is the definition of miscommunication. Almaguer and Callie Shaw both going for it, and that's going to be an ace for Wayland Baptist. Quite the opposite of the hopeful error on the serve you were asking for. I think they might have heard you.
Yeah, I think I jinxed it. But hey,
there you go. Right back. Just a point too late for you, Devin.
And back to that serve-receive play. When you're on the back row, you've got 3 people straight across. Obviously, there's going to be some opportunity for miscommunication. That's why you've got your seams. You know the player standing next to you either has your deep or has balls that are short in front of you. You have to communicate that every time so those miscommunications don't happen.
Paroli gets it over to Ivy, to Bruce, setting it up for Shaw. Shaw kind of has to roll out of bounds, go cross court with it. And Bredding gets it over to Daniel, but SAGU's got a chance here. 2 diving players. Ivy gets it over to Sodich, and Sodich's attempt is blocked in bounds. The combo of Kelly Kozak and Jay Jones able to block that Sodich kill attempt, and they were pumped after that block.
Any block that goes down like that, when you're supposed to have even coverage everywhere on the floor, when you've got a hole like that and just a stuff block is what they call that, that's a great feeling as a blocker to be able to have that power to just shove the ball right back where it came from.
And here's Daniel. The block attempt from the Lady Lions goes out of bounds, and we can surely feel that momentum needle shifting over towards the Pioneers. They've got a 9-7 lead here. If they get a point here, don't be surprised to see Coach Moore call a timeout. Almaguer takes the serve over to Ivy, looking for Shaw. And Shaw, a good job again, reading the defense and softly hitting it over.
Because you've seen a lot of really, really powerful hits by Sodich there, several plays in a row, and now we are struggling to get anything back. So that's when you bring in that off-speed roll shot, drop your elbow right in the middle of the court to offset the defense.
And Hartline just has to get it over as they were not in the right spot. McBride diving, and SAGU a good job of keeping it alive, and Sodich tries to push it to that back row. And either way, either a double call or it's going to be out of bounds. Either way, that's going to be a point for Wayland Baptist.
That was a great defensive play by McBride. She was right where she needed to be, low and ready for anything to come her way. A smart play by Sodich, just a little misjudged on the depth.
Ivy over to McBride, and McBride powers it down. Molly McBride, one of our players to watch going into today, and she has not disappointed. Cutting that lead back to 1 for the Lady Lions, 9 now serving 10. Brittany Stolaby back to serve for the Lady Lions. Bredding over to Paroli. Back to Sherratt that time. And Ivy tries to get it to that back corner on another second contact attempt. And Amber Daniel gets the chance to power it down with really no defense there. No one really jumped up for that block. They were just out of position, and Jessica Sodich could not handle it.
And when you've got a middle back right there where Sodich was playing, you either have the block covering line and that middle back is a little sucked in, or you have the block covering lacrosse shot and that middle back is all the way on that sideline. And right there, it looked like they were both a little confused. And there you see Sealy Bruce frustrated. This is a moment where everyone on the team can pull together. It's going to be more important than ever that the team come together at the end of every play, because now volleyball is very simple, but if you don't do the simple things right, then you find yourself in this spot where we're now down 3 points.
Shaw takes the serve over to Ivy, and McBride pushes it to that back corner. Didn't really get a chance to set anything up there. Sodich, a good diving effort over to McBride again, taken in by Bredding. Over to Daniel, and Daniel's kill, strong attempt right in front of Shaw, and Shaw's block goes out of bounds. And here is Coach Moore going to take a timeout as he finds his Lady Lions down by 4 here in set number 3, where they've looked so good in the first 2 sets. Now it's a different ball game.
And I think in the first set, when we were down, I don't remember the exact deficit that we were down in the first set, but even now in this 3rd set, only because we saw how well the Lady Lions can play against Wayland Baptist in the 2nd set, now this 4-point difference feels like a lot more than what it actually is. So the discouragement on the Lady Lions side feels like a lot greater, because they know that they can do better than this. They know that they're making silly mistakes. They're not getting their feet in the right spot. And you see there on the screen, Wayland Baptist, they've already got that peppiness back, and they're a little bit more encouraged. They're more relaxed. And you see the Lady Lions, they're very intent Coach Moore, you know, always says such great, inspiring things in his timeout time. But here is going to be the deciding factor. If they can realize it's only a 4-point deficit, we are okay. We can pull together. We know we can play better against this team. It just takes everyone believing that and pulling that together.
We'll see how the Lady Lions adjust here. Again, down 4. It's going to be 13 serving 9 as Wayland Baptist still in possession of the ball. Lindsay Schwab back to serve for the Pioneers. Schwab serve handled by McBride over to Ivy to Dawkins and dug out by Bredding. And they're just going to have to get it over. Will they? Yes, they will. Shaw to Ivy to McBride. And a good rally. Bruce just gets it over on that first hit. And here's Daniel. And Daniel with a strong kill gets it past everybody. And Celie Bruce could not get there or get in front of it.
And you see the frustration there from Bruce. She's the libero. Everyone is relying on her not to be the only defensive player, but to be the one that everyone looks to when we're in a moment like this. So she's getting a little frustrated. She threw her arms up. That was one of those hesitation moments that you just can't afford. So now she has that great pass so we can recover. And we see here it's all a mental game. We make those unforced errors. We've got to be able to clean those up.
Callie Shaw's cross-court kill attempt goes out of bounds. Lindsay Schwab still serving for the Pioneers. Serve is handled by Shaw. Over to Ivy, back to Shaw. And here comes Wayland Baptist. Daniel gets it over to McBride. Ivy back to Sodich from that white line. And it's going to work for the Lady Lions. She played a little bit further back than we normally see her play and is able to dump it right in the middle of the Pioneers defense.
And if you notice, she went full approach as if to say, I'm going to smoke this ball. So you guys have to really play defense. Last minute, she dropped her elbow, threw off the defense entirely for a soft play.
And here we see the Lady Lions, a good block at the initial attack. And Shaw again tries to do what Sodich just did. And Dawkins with a good block. Back to Daniel. And that block attempt lands right in front of Ivy and Paulier Dawkins.
And that right there is the best indicator that the blockers are not where they are supposed to be positioned on the net. If the ball falls in front of you, there's obviously too much space between you and the net. You just got to press the net a little bit more. You've got to be right over it. You can't touch it, but you've got to be able to avoid the ball coming down in front of you.
That serve beautifully executed, as you'll see it here. Lands right on the line, and Coach Moore is going to call another timeout, down 17-10. And Wayland Baptist really seems like they are pulling away with this third set.
And this is a great example of what we talked about before this set started, Adam, of yes, we're up. SAGU is up 2-0, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. The score starts out at 0-0 again. You still have 3 more sets to play. So they're really taking advantage of this, and the momentum is very clearly on the side of the Pioneers. And the Lady Lions they still have the rest of this set to pull it together, but they've really got to fight. Now that they're down 7 points, and like I said, once you get to that 15 mark, it's really hard to get that momentum back. So they're already at 17. They're 3 points away from 20. They're fighting each race to 5, 10, 15, 20, and they're much closer, obviously, to 20 than we are right now.
Especially in this third set where Wayland Baptist has come out and they've looked like a completely different team than we saw in sets 1 and 2. And the Lady Lions, obviously, they have to adjust. We heard assistant coach Nick Moore, Coach Hank Moore's son, talk about those adjustments, and that looks to be what Coach Giacomonte has done over on that Wayland Baptist side. And we see the smiles from the Pioneers. The demeanor has definitely switched. They are the ones now with a little pep in their step, as you said earlier. The Lady Lions look to be a little bit more serious now. The serve handled by Shaw to Ivy, to Dawkins on that slide, and that's how you get that point back. You go to that play. Coach Moore loves that slide play. Behind the setter to Dawkins.
And that's a great timeout called by Coach Moore, just to kind of let his ladies relax, just to say, hey, we just need to run this one play, get the momentum back a little bit, and that's exactly what's happened here.
Almaguer to serve. And there's Hartline. Tried to get it over on the first attempt. She does. Dawkins now pushes it. And now the Lady Lions, Almaguer sets it over to Ivy, who gets it over to Sodich. And Sodich goes down the line. Her body pointed one way, but the kill ultimately went the other way. The change of direction by Jessica Sodich.
And that's a great trick play. You go up. If your shoulders turn like you're going to hit down the line, the defense is going to switch. But right there, like you said, her body's facing one way. She turned her wrist at the last minute and was able to throw him off.
The block attempt from Dawkins and Sodich goes out of bounds, and Wayland Baptist gets that point right back to a 6-point lead, 18 serving 12. Serve handled by Bruce, over to Ivy, back to Sodich. And Sodich puts it right down the line. Jessica Sodich, impressive. Killed that attempt. Back to a 5-point deficit for the Lady Lions, 13 serving 18 as Bo comes in to serve. Bo's serve is handled in that back row by Daniel, over to Paroli. Back to Ellis, and Ellis right in the face, literally the face of Callie Shaw, gets that 6-point lead right back.
And it seems like the Wayland Baptist has figured out that Shaw is struggling a little bit in that right back spot on defense. And not saying that I don't think that that's every game, but right now they've caught that weak spot that she's kind of having a difficult time deciding how she wants to play defense, and they're really harping on that.
Jessica Sodich, a strong kill, but dug out that time by Elizabeth Paroli. And Ivy, left-handed, gets it across on that second attempt. Sodich, a good job to get there. Ivy, back up to Sodich. Diving stop by Bredding, over to Ellis. And that ball looked like it was going to be out of bounds, but throwing her hands up at the last second was Nikki Almaguer. And she tried to get her hands away from the ball, but just going up, and that ball easily would have been out of bounds.
And we saw the very same thing happen in the second set. If you're in that back 10 to 15 feet of the floor, you've got to know you can't raise your hands and try and make contact with the ball. And thank goodness we just got that freebie.
Lady Lions get one right back, 15 serving 20 now, as Sophia Ivy is going to go back and serve. Ivy's serve is going to be handled by Ellis. Over to Bredding. And SAGU might have a chance to do something here on offense. Almaguer to Ivy. Over to Sodich. That's who you want to get it to. And Hartline again on the first contact. Gonna work this time. She's been trying that and it's worked a couple times. But this time, finally in the third set, Hartline finally gets it to go over and work in favor of the Lions.
And again, that wasn't the prettiest play in the world, but honestly, if it works, it doesn't matter.
4-point lead now, or rather 5-point, 15 serving 20 as Sophia Ivy is back to serve. There is Ellis over to Paroli. Got it over to Kozak. Here is Bruce setting it up for Sodich. And here are the Pioneers over to Daniel. Good block on an island by Hartline. Bruce now is going to get it over to Shaw. SAGU's got to get it over. They do. A good rally here. Paroli over to Jay Jones, and Jay Jones gets up and powers it down in front of the blocking combo of Hartline and Sodich, and they end that rally very quickly. Jay Jones, strong kill.
And you saw right there on the replay how much space was in between that block and the net. Again, you've got to be close enough to the net where that doesn't have an option.
Callie Shaw's kill goes out of bounds. A little too much on that one, and now it's back to a 7-point lead for Wayland Baptist here in set number 3. A must-win set number 3, as SAGU has a 2-0 lead so far today. Ellis with the serve, taken in by Bruce. Kind of crossed her up, and now SAGU's got to get it over. Paroli over to Daniel. And Daniel places it perfectly between Almaguer and Seeley Bruce. No one there to even make an attempt at that kill.
So you see that replay right here. Notice the hole in the block right there. That's not the back row's fault. Our back row is right where they need it to be. The middle blocker, it's their responsibility to close that block to take away that part of the floor.
Jessica Sodich, and the look on her face after that kill, that is not a face Personally, if she makes that face at me, I'm running the other direction.
You should.
Jessica Sodich trying to take over this third set, down 16-23 as she is set to serve. Paroli over to Daniel, blocked, and Hartline gets it over quickly again. And that's going to be a double contact, and that's going to bring SAGU within, they cut it a little bit more here. It's going to be a 6-point lead now for Wayland Baptist. Jessica Sodich just got to chip away. Chip away.
Like you said, you've got to take it 1 point at a time. You can't be looking at the scoreboard seeing that they've got 23, now 24. You've got to take it 1 point at a time because, believe it or not, even though it may feel this way, this set is not over yet. We've seen it plenty of times in the game of volleyball. People can come back and win 26-24.
Sodich over to Ivy, over to Shaw, and there we go. They're going to get that 1 point back here. It's going to be 18-24, 6-point deficit for the Lady Lions, and they need them here. They need to win every single point from here on out to get this third set. Sophia Ivy back to serve for the Lady Lions. Serve is up, and that's going to go down as an ace. That's Brittany Stalaby, rather. She comes in and serves, and it just kind of crossed up Jordan Bredding there, and SAGU now within 5. Here is Stalaby. Bredding comes up to get it. Over to Paroli, back to Daniel. Sodich handles it. Ivy to Dawkins. Good diving stop by Bredding, and SAGU's got a chance here. The defense has recovered. Here's McBride. Bredding digs it out. Over to Paroli, back to Daniel. And the block by Paulier Dawkins goes almost into the stands. A fantastic play. And here is Shaw, tips it over. And Wayland Baptist fighting hard for this 25th point. Shaw to Ivy, to McBride, pushing into that back corner. Here's Paroli, over to Jones, good block. Sodich dives for it. Some miscommunication here, and they've just got to get it over. SAGU's got a chance to end this rally. Ivy to McBride, dug out by Bredding. An incredible point here for them, potentially for the set for Wayland Baptist. Ivy to Shaw. And that ball's going to land. SAGU gets another point, a hard-fought 20th point to bring it within 4. Lady Lions not going down without a fight here.
No, and that's the kind of volleyball you want to see. Rallies like that, although they're kind of stressful for those of us watching, it's so much more fun when both sides of the court are putting in all they've got. And you saw nobody gave up on any play there. Everyone was hustling, and that's what you really want to see.
Stalaby over to Shaw. She's got to go cross court with it. Bredding. And that kill attempt goes out of bounds. A delayed call by the head official. Bated breath up here, Devin, waiting to see what the call was going to be. 21 serving 24.
See, and you kind of feel bad for the line judges in this instance. You know, their one responsibility is to be watching that sideline and the baseline. But sometimes, you know, I've done it before where I'm calling, you know, there's just nothing you can do. You miss the call. But instead, you're always supposed to say, I didn't really see it. Rather, especially at this point in the game, you want to be honest and say, I didn't see it, rather than make a call that is completely incorrect. But in this case, luckily, that head referee was watching, and it worked out in our favor.
21 serving 24 as we see that ball. It did indeed land out of bounds right in front of that line judge. SAGU pulls it within 3. Here in set number 3, again, leading 2-0 tonight. And they really dominated those first 2 sets. A little closer in set 1 rather than set 2. But SAGU, or rather Wayland Baptist, has come out on fire to start set number 3. But the Lady Lions doing a good job to show their resiliency and come back. These last 2 points have been incredibly hard fought, scratching and clawing for any point they can get right now to potentially end this match here in set 3.
And what you see right here, there's so much determination and fight that you're now seeing from the Lady Lions. And Wayland Baptist is not laying down either. As we saw in that last rally, they're really fighting. But if the Lady Lions had started fighting just a little bit sooner, they wouldn't have found themselves in this hard spot where they're fighting against 1 point.
Here's Stalaby's serve out of the timeout. That ball blocked by Dawkins and McBride. Paroli is going to get it over. It's going to hit the antenna. The Lady Lions get another point, 22-24, cutting it to 2. And the demeanor again, it may be set point for the Pioneers, but they have their heads down, and the Lady Lions are pumped right now despite being down 2 in set number 3. And another timeout here, this time called by Coach Giacomotti.
And what is going on in this Lady Lions huddle, the huddles that I was in years ago in scenarios like this, the main talk is about playing error-free volleyball. There's no specific play call that comes out necessarily in this moment because they're utilizing, you see all their quick sets on the front row, their slides that they're utilizing, they're even utilizing the back row. So it's not that they're not taking advantage of all of their offensive plays, but here the most important thing is that you play error-free volleyball, and you have to walk a fine line between playing not to lose and playing to win. And when you play not to lose, that's when you make more errors because you're nervous to mess up. But when you play to win and you realize that you just need to do the simple things right, then you can really do what the Lady Lions have done here and fight back 1 point at a time. And in Wayland's defense, they haven't made any glaring errors. They've been putting up a great fight. But here, 22-24, it's really anybody's set at this point.
Out of the timeout, the Lady Lions still serving. Brittany Stallaby back there to serve. Still down 2, 22-24, and it is, of course, win by 2 here in these sets. So if the Lady Lions have any chance, they've got to hit that, at least that 24 mark to keep hope alive here. And that's going to take the set out of the timeout. Wayland Baptist takes set number 3, a hard-fought number 3, 25-22, giving them their first set of the night. And the Lady Lions have to make some adjustments here. If they play this 4th set like they played the end of that 3rd set, we could see a very different outcome here in set number 4.
And honestly, I think they just need to recall how set number 2 went. I mean, they came out of the gate, they were up 7-1. They took the game seriously right at the beginning, and they didn't mess around. They didn't get lazy. They weren't throwing their arms out. They weren't trying to fall to the ball instead of getting their feet there, and that made all the difference. You can see it in the scoreboard. So the good news is they saw the fight that they had in them at the end of set number 3, so they're not completely defeated right now because they saw that they could come back. They know what they need to do, but it's just a matter of making that mental and physical connection with what they know they need to do and what their body is actually going to do out on the court. They've got to make that decision to fight for every single point from the very first serve.
Set 4 coming your way. The Lady Lions currently lead 2-1. Wayland Baptist battling back and taking that third set after being down 2-0, showing incredible fight, incredible resiliency. Had a huge lead, and the Lady Lions' comeback chance was stopped as they got that lead within 2 before Wayland Baptist ultimately took that last point.
And right now, we're in a good place. Coach Moore always prefers to receive the first ball. It's your first chance to hit the ball, attack the ball. So right here, we see a great example of why that's an advantage with Molly McBride making that great first play. And again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, SAGU in the set number 2, they really came out fighting right from the get-go. And right here, if they can do the same thing, keep the momentum on their side, they won't have to fight so hard at the end.
Incredible kill by Molly McBride as SAGU takes that first point. Callie Shaw, a good job defensively. We've seen her struggle so far today, but a good job right there setting the tone on the 4th set. Here is Ellis, and that ball hits the antenna. That's going to be a point for SAGU, and they had it set up there. They had the offense set up, unfortunately for the Pioneers. That kill attempt just goes right into that antenna. Callie Shaw to serve. McBride gets it over to Bruce. They just got to get it over, and they got the chance to set up Paroli over to that striker on the outside, Mallory Ellis, and it gets past Callie Shaw as Wayland Baptist gets their first point here in set number 4.
You see that scenario again. We saw it at the very beginning of this match. Callie Shaw went for it, hesitated, and that's, again, your biggest struggle in defense. You can't do that. Sodich is back there. Now, she's got to communicate to Shaw that she is back there, but Callie's got to trust that that teammate is there so she doesn't make that mistake.
Molly McBride's kill dug out that time by Paroli. And there we see Mallory Ellis. She's able to power it down by Sealy Bruce, and Sealy Bruce cannot recover. Gets it past those blockers right in between, again, the libero Sealy Bruce and number 4, Jessica Sodich. And the Lady Lions get it right back as that service error is going to give them the lead again, 3-2. Elizabeth Paroli with the long serve. Nikki Almaguer in to serve for the Lady Lions. Done a good job tonight from that line. Paroli back to Ellis. This time Sealy Bruce is able to dig it out. Over to Shaw. Blocked right down in front of Shaw. The combo of Mallory Ellis and Kelly Kozak able to get the point back for the Pioneers.
And you saw right there, there's nobody sitting right under the block on the Lady Lions side. They've got to have that coverage there for that specific scenario. And there's nothing that can show better when you're not where you're supposed to be unless something like that happens.
Sodich's kill attempt blocked by Jay Jones. Bruce to Ivy, and Ivy just goes right over with it. Paroli over to Daniel. The Lions saying that ball went around the antenna. They're not going to get the call. Almaguer, though, powers it past Kelly Kozak as SAGU ultimately gets the point.
See, and right there, you saw a really, really interesting detail. The bench of the Lady Lions was all fighting for that ball being outside the antenna, but the Lady Lions on the floor were still playing. That's the importance of never stopping a play until the whistle blows. Whether or not the ball was outside the antenna, they were just focusing on the live ball that was on the court right then.
And the Lady Lions get one back as that's going to be a point on the lift as they take a 2-point lead, 5-3. Those are the kind of plays that that they can shift the momentum in favor of the Lady Lions as Bo steps back to serve. Taken in by Bredding, over to Paroli, looking for Daniel. And Daniel with the left hand hits the antenna. And the Lady Lions catching a bunch of breaks here in set number 4.
And again, you just got to take advantage of those scenarios where unforced errors. And here we've got a pretty good lead, 6-3. But you want to keep playing error-free volleyball. Let the other team make the mistakes so that you can just play fun offense.
Ivy looking for Sodich, and Sodich's kill attempt is blocked by Jade Jones and Kelly Kozak. As they've done a good job of neutralizing Sodich really in this 4th set so far, has not really had much room to make any kill attempts to get past that front line of defense. Bruce takes in the serve over to Ivy, and Hartline with the left hand is going to get it to fall. And the Lady Lions get that point right back. A good job by Hartline to recognize no one to her left and kind of backhand tip it.
And like you mentioned before, we have seen a lot more from the blockers on Wayland Baptist in this set already. And again, because of that, we've seen how the Lady Lions really need to make coverage a priority. We've had several gaps on the floor. If Wayland is going to continue to block, and right there you see the same exact thing. The Lady Lions put up a great block straight down. No one's there to cover. And of course, the team that is blocking wants that to happen. But when you see that gap, you've got to know which player needs to move into that spot.
Jessica Sodich with the block on that attempt. The Lady Lions fired up right now. Ivy back to serve. Bredding takes that in, gets it over to Paroli, looking for Daniel. To that back row to Almaguer. Over to Sodich. Sodich just has to tip it over, and then that's not what you want to do is swing backwards, Devin.
And that's the danger, especially when you're on the front row right there and you're just trying to cover your own block, and that's a very common thing to do, but you can't just throw arms out. You've got to be in control. That was a very easy play for her to just think through, put both arms together, get the ball high in the middle of the floor, and then this point could have ended up differently.
Shaw to Ivy, over to Sodich. Sodich has to tip it up now. Tried to make an attempt at it, but now the Lady Lions have a chance to get something going here. Over to Shaw, and Shaw keeps it in play. Ivy was looking for Sodich, but it goes over the net, and it looks like the Pioneers weren't ready for that to happen. Ivy now to Hartline, and a good rally here. Here is Daniel, and Sealy Bruce out of position, tried to dive to her right, get underneath it, but could not do so. And it's going to be a point for Wayland Baptist.
And right here, no matter whose fault it is, we've got to have our blockers in the right position. We've got to have defense in the right position. But bottom line, everyone needs to be on their toes. You can't get caught. I've said this before. You can't get caught in volleyball on your heels because you don't have that much time to think, I need to switch my weight forward and then move. You've just got to be ready to move.
McGear goes to her knees. Sodich now changes speed on that hit. Over to Ellis. There is Sodich. Over to Ivy. Back to Sodich. Bredding able to dig that out. Now here's Daniel. And Daniel, the kill attempt goes out of bounds, untouched. And that's going to be point SAGU. And that is a frustrating error for Coach Giacomotti and his Pioneer team. As SAGU goes up 5-10, serving 5 as Sodich is on the serve line now.
And right here, we've got a lead. Again, we've got to 10. Now it's a race to 15.
Serve taken in by Ellis. Over to Paroli. Sliding her way is Sherratt. Looking to get going here in the fourth set. Ivy over to Shaw. Has to adjust to it. And now Wayland Baptist has a chance here. Here's Sherratt, the big hitter. Gets it to fall. And gets them a point back. It's going to be 6 serving 10.
And right there again, I've mentioned this before, Sodich was, you just saw her asking Coach Moore if she needed to just shift her coverage, but that ball should have been covered by the block. If you trust your block to get cross court, then you've got to stick to your guns and play defense where you were going to play defense.
And there we see on the serve, Molly McBride could not handle it. Goes to her knees, out of control, and that's going to go down as an ace, cutting the lead to 3. Here is Amber Daniel. Bruce to Ivy. Shaw just punches it over. Here's Sherratt. Bruce goes to her knees. Over to McBride. SAGU not able to get really anything going so far. Bruce to Ivy. Back to Shaw. And Shaw powers down cross court. And it's going to land in bounds. Beautiful kill by Callie Shaw.
And again, we've just got to take advantage of every exciting play on both sides of the court. With a game this close, Lady Lions are going to need to take advantage of every exciting kill they have. Wayland is going to need to take advantage of every exciting kill they have. You can't be overexcited. I know, you might feel silly on the floor celebrating so much, but it really does make a difference among the team.
To serve for the Lady Lions is Brittany Stolaby. 11 serving 7, 4-point lead for the Lady Lions. As Coach Moore is having a discussion here with the head official. A little bit of a substitution jumble there as they try to get Celie Bruce out of the game.
And breaks like this in the game are so unfortunate, especially when you're in a crunch moment like this and you've got to keep the momentum going. The Lady Lions have the ball on their side, but now they're having to overcome what's already a difficult thing mentally. They have this awkward break where no one's really sure, how the solution's going to come out. The teams are losing focus, but luckily they both pulled together. They're talking about the next play. They're talking about what they're going to do differently, or they're just having a good time, which in some scenarios, that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a little bit of lightheartedness to show that the game can still be fun. Because when the team is able to relax and play, 9 times out of 10, they play way better that way.
Coach Moore unhappy with something happening here between the officials, not able to understand what's going on. But regardless, we're going to get SAGU serving here with an 11-7 lead. And it's Brittany Stolaby to serve for the Lady Lions. Paroli. And that's blocked by Dawkins and McBride. Paroli now over to Ellis. Sodich to Ivy. Back to McBride. And McBride's kill attempt blocked that time by Paroli and Megan Sherratt.
And again, we really haven't seen any blocking by Wayland Baptist up until this set. Maybe a few here and there, but they definitely have come out stronger, and the Lady Lions are having to adjust, like you've said several times in this match, and it's proving to be pretty difficult for them.
Shaw dumps it over. Here's Paroli looking for Ellis. And a good job by Sodich to dig that out. Looking for McBride now, and McBride down the line. Molly McBride, great kill has played really well in all 4 sets tonight. After seeing her in action really only 1 set last night, looks to be back to that midseason form we saw 2 years ago.
You always want to try and have that third contact going over the net be something aggressive, something strategic. So anytime you have to send a free ball over, it's a huge bummer.
Ivy to Sodich from that white line, and that's going to work. Jessica Sodich able to hit it from that 10-foot line.
So that play a few plays ago where we were waiting awkwardly trying to figure out what happened. So when the libero goes out of the game to switch in with whoever she's going in for, you've got to sub out at a certain point on the floor. So we were given a delay of game because of that delay, trying to figure out what was going on. But it looks like Coach Moore was a little bit at odds with the referees on where Celie Bruce exited the floor. So it's one of those rules that, is kind of just by the book in volleyball that you've got to go by. It has nothing to do with the live action on the floor, but just to explain that we received a delay of game for that scenario right there.
And that's going to go down as an ace for Elizabeth Paroli as she lands it in front of Celie Bruce, and she couldn't get there. It's going to be 10 serving 13. They cut it within 3. Paroli back to serve again. Shaw takes it in over to Ivy. Looking for Dawkins on the slide, and that's going to work as beautifully as any other kill we've seen tonight. Paulier Dawkins on that slide play with Sophia Ivy.
When you can time that slide play so perfectly, it takes really great chemistry between the setter and the middle hitter. So they've obviously got something really good going that gets them out of a pinch.
And miscommunication on the defensive side of the ball between Mallory Ellis and Jordan Bredding as to who is supposed to field in that serve, and that's going to result in an ace for Nikki Almaguer, and that's going to be a timeout for Coach Jim Giacomazzi. And SAGU now with a 15-10 lead. There it is, that race to 15.
And something that I noticed on that very last play before the timeout, Wayland Baptist, they didn't have a very good pass, but in that scenario, I know that the setter is always responsible for taking that second ball, but the second responsibility they have right behind that, if they know they're not going to be able to make it there, they're responsible to call for help. And it looked like in that scenario, maybe the setter misjudged it. She wasn't sure if she was able to get there in time, but that play could have been avoided. By them losing that point could have been avoided if she simply would have called for help, because if you notice, there were the rest of the team, all 5 of the players were just standing there, and there was someone that could have stepped in, but instead the ball hit the floor. The setter wasn't able to make it in time. So here, here we are, race to 15. We were at 10-5, and now we're at 15-10. So if the Lady Lions can focus on getting that next fight to 20, then they'll just have 5 more points to go. And that really is what you have to do in a volleyball set. You've got to dissect the entire set of 25 so that you're not overwhelmed and you don't get discouraged too easily. It's a race to 5, race to 10, race to 15, and so on. You've got to take it one little section at a time and fight just as hard in the first section as you do in the last.
Almaguer to serve. Paroli looking for Jones. Jones goes up and hits it down, but the block attempt goes out of bounds on SAGU's side after the hit, and that's going to be a point for the Pioneers.
So you see the confusion on Ivy's face right now. She let that ball go. She was right there, could have played it up, but she thought that Wayland Baptist made contact with it. So that's just a judgment error on her part, but we're back in play here. Still in the lead. We've just got to get this point back.
Jessica Sodich's kill attempt goes out of bounds, and just like that, out of the timeout, the Pioneers have done a good job to get 2 of these points straight back, cutting it to 3 with Mallory Ellis serving now for the Pioneers. And that's going to go long. A good job to recognize that by that back line. Service error for Wayland Baptist.
When you're in a crunch time like this, set number 4, when you're Wayland Baptist and you know that the full match is at stake, you just absolutely cannot miss a serve. You've got to get something over the net. It doesn't necessarily have to be the best serve you've ever given, but you've just got to keep the ball in play.
Bow into serve for the Lions, and that's going to land on the line. Bow with a beautiful serve. As you see here, does it indeed land on the line? It does. Bow, beautiful serve.
Too close for comfort.
And it's going to be a timeout by head coach Jim Giacomazzi. And Bo doing a good job of getting that lead back to 5 points. And it's going to be 17-12 for Coach Moore and his Lady Lions.
And right here again, this strategic timeout is simply to ice the server. We've got a good lead going here on the Lady Lions side. We've some momentum is over here. The game again is not over, but when you have this high momentum and a server that's been doing 2 or 3 in a row, that's a great opportunity to take a timeout. So right here, Bo's got to come right back in, have that focus, and be able to, again, not nail the ball, not necessarily get an ace. We're not looking for, the headline of the best serve ever. We just need the ball to be over and in play so that the Lady Lions can come back.
And there's our first update from the day in the SAGU versus Texas College football game. Your Lions holding on to a 10-7 lead in that really rivalry game that we get to see every year between SAGU and Texas College, and a very important CSFL matchup as it is SAGU's first of the year. Want to start out on the right foot, undefeated in conference play. We'll keep you updated as we go along the rest of this broadcast. Bo, 17 serving 12 here for the Lady Lions. It's up and it's fielded by Ellis. Over to Bredding. Over to Daniel. And the Lions here, Bo to Ivy, to Sodich. And Sodich powers it down and gives SAGU their biggest lead of this fourth set, 18 serving 12. And they have come out looking very, very different than they did in set number 3.
And you could tell they're having fun too. I mean, they're all smiling, they're relaxed, and that's when the team plays the best together, when they're not tense and angry at each other. They're just relaxed, playing the game.
Lady Lions going to have another chance here. Ivy, slide play to Hartline, and a good diving stop by Bredding, but a little too far out of the reach of Kelly Kozak. And just like that, the Lions up 7, 19-12. Checking into the game is going to be Phelan Berry for Kozak. Bo to serve for SAGU. And that's going to go out of bounds. Bo looking for another line ace on that back row. And that's not what you want if you're the Lions. You got the momentum. You got a 7-point lead. As you said, you don't want to go for a highlight play. Just get the ball over the net.
And that right there is a really, really simple fix. I mean, I know serving over and over and over again in Coach Moore's practices, you know what feels good when you make contact with the ball. You've got to keep that consistency. And again, here's yet another delay with the referees. While we're unsure what's going on right now, this is a hard thing for Wayland Baptist to now regain focus. Even if it's just a few seconds, it's amazing how much that can throw off a server.
Shaw takes in the serve over to Ivy, looking for Sodich. Sodich has to punch it over. Bredding over to Davis. Daniel left-handed rather. Ivy up to Sodich. Bredding there for it off the block. Here is Daniel. And Daniel's kill attempt blocked, but goes out of bounds. 2 points in a row here for Wayland Baptist. They are on a little bit of a comeback trail. Back within 5.
And it's going to be more important than ever that SAGU Lady Lions can pull together right here. They've had a couple points that they've given to Wayland, but they've got to come in. And after a silly mistake like that, you've really got to be able to pull together. Shake that off. You still are in the lead, but you don't want to get any closer. A fight to 20 right here. We've got one more point to fight to 20.
Shaw takes in the serve over to Ivy. Slide play to Hartline. Dug out by Bredding. And Bruce, a good job to get in front of it, but a little chaos there on the defensive side of the ball. Gives the point to Wayland Baptist. They pull it within 3. Expect a timeout if they score here from Coach Moore. Sodich to Ivy. Back to Sodich. And Sodich ends the comeback trail for the time being, getting SAGU to that 20th point. 20 now, serving 16, back up by 4.
You see right there that great replay. Sodich was up 1 against 1. She went with all the power she had against that blocker and was able to get that kill for the Lady Lions to get the ball back.
Serve up by Ivy. Looking for Daniel again. Blocked by Hartline and Shaw. Back to Daniel. Blocked again by Shaw. Bruce now gets it over to Ivy. Over to Sodich. and Sodich this time gets blocked by Jade Jones. Phenomenal block.
And that right there, especially in a rally where we saw 2 great blocks by the Lady Lions, but then you come back, Wayland Baptist, the Pioneers, with a stuff block like that. That is really a high momentum builder for this team.
Lindsay Schwab to serve now for Wayland Baptist. Down by 3, Bruce handles that serve over to Ivy, looking for Sodich, and Sodich goes cross court with it. And SAGU's going to have a chance here. Sodich to Bruce, misplayed a little bit. Sodich now has a chance. Diving for it, Bredding. Over to Sherrod, and Sherrod, there we see the power from that middle hitter. Gets it past everybody, pulling it back within 2. Here is Schwab to serve again. Bruce handles the serve over to Ivy. Looking for Shaw. Off her knees. I know you were looking for it. Your hands went up. And it's going to be a lift on Wayland Baptist. Gives the point to SAGU.
And that's kind of a risky call. I mean, there's so much interpretation that goes into that. You saw Wayland Baptist coach fighting against the referee there, saying that she went with a fist. It hit the hard part of her hand, which is legal. But again, it's all up to the judgment of the ref.
Sherrod again, another powerful kill attempt, gets it past Sophia Ivy, pulling this game within 2 again. And back to serve is Amber Daniel. Taken in by Bruce, over to Ivy. Back to Hartline, and it stays on the side of the Pioneers. Here is Ellis. Blocked, and that's going to land, and SAGU's going to get a point. A phenomenal block by Callie Shaw and Madeline Hartline, giving SAGU that 3-point lead, 22 serving 19.
And right here, 1 point at a time. We can't, as the Lady Lions, they can't go in and say, you know, this game is over. We've seen in set number 3 how the Lady Lions came back against Wayland Baptist. And same scenario here. Just because the Lady Lions are closer to 25 does not mean that the Pioneers are going to come back and fight. They are at an even playing field, 1 point at a time.
Kara Foreman, her first action of the game, and a little second hit that time. And we see Foreman making an impact right away.
That's a really, really strong play by a setter to be able to do that. The advantage of running that front row setter, they really work in practices to get that left hand stronger so that they can go up looking like they're going to set and at the last minute just dump it over with that left hand.
Sodich takes the serve from Sherrod, and then Molly McBride's kill attempt. When you talk about the space between the blockers and the net, Molly McBride taking full advantage there.
You can see it right there. There's that gap. Even if it's pretty small, that little gap in between the net and the block is pretty harmful in most scenarios.
23 serving 20 here in set number 4 as Callie Shaw steps back to serve. Paroli looking for Ellis. Now McBride has a chance at it, and McBride's kill attempt goes out of bounds off of the block, and it's going to be a point SAGU, and they've got match point here, 24 serving 20.
And the excitement in the gym, there's so much momentum. This has been a real fight to pull this game out. We've got to just hold on for one more point and really hopefully end it on a high note.
Bruce takes it in over to Ivy to Dawkins. And Dawkins' kill attempt is blocked by Kelly Kozak and Mallory Ellis. And it's not quite over yet. Set 4 continues, 21 serving 24 now as Elizabeth Paroli steps back to serve.
And it's really important here to play every single point, every single rally. When you have the ball on your side of the floor, you've got to play it like that's going to be the last time you touch the ball when the game is at this point.
Dawkins gets it over in a little chaos now. Shaw to Ivy, sliding to Dawkins. Dawkins tries to get it straight down. Sodich gets to it. SAGU's got to get it over, and they do. There's Paroli over to Kozak, making a lunge at it with Shaw. Shaw's got to get it over. Here's Bredding to Paroli to Jones. Right in the face of Sophia Ivy as we see Callie Shaw make a diving effort at it, but it's going to be 22-24. Now, as Paroli is still back to serve, a stressful, exciting set number 4. Here is Paroli, taken in by Bruce. To Ivy, to Dawkins, and Dawkins cross-court kill attempt, no good. It goes out of bounds. And just like that, within 1, we're in dangerous territory here, Devin, as Coach Moore is going to call a timeout.
And this timeout right here is purely out of desperation. I mean, we've had the lead for a good portion of this set, and if you remember, it was 20, I think it was maybe 22-19 when we last talked about this. It may feel like the game is in the bag, but if Wayland Baptist comes back to fight like they have, now we're right here neck and neck, and this next point could truly decide the outcome of this match. Now, if the Lady Lions come out ready to take the ball and own their play, they have the first opportunity to attack, which, as I said before, is Coach Moore's preference. They just have to get that pass, a clean set, and follow all the way through. Clean, simple volleyball. But the advantage is on our side to have that first attempt at a kill. So here you see on the screen Wayland Baptist, they're intently listening. There's a lot of tension here, a lot of excitement going into these next couple of points. This whole team understands that this next point, they don't want it to be the end, but it very well could be. So there's everything hanging on the line right here.
You're the Lady Lions and you want to win it on this point. Who do you set the ball up to? Give me one name.
Gosh, I would say McBride has been doing such a great job, but honestly, because they haven't run that slide play in quite some time, I would say that they would need to set up to Dawkins.
Bruce takes a serve. Here is Ivy looking for Dawkins. Not quite the slide. It's going to land, and you call it, Devin. Paulie Dawkins ends it for the Lady Lions, and they take tonight's match 3-1 after a tough 25-23 set 4 win.
Ooh, what a relief. That was some great volleyball to watch, but there were some moments on both sides of the floor where you knew both teams could be playing so much better, and it's a lot more fun to watch a game when both teams are playing up to the standard they can.
We see the players gather at center court for their typical post-game prayer circle, as a custom here at SAGU, after a toughly contested volleyball match here tonight, as SAGU again takes it 3-1. They're going to improve on the season to 12-3, and they remain undefeated in conference play here early on. Wayland Baptist is going to drop to 8-4 and drop their second straight conference game, dropping them to 2-2 on the season. How important is it, Devin, as a former player, to jump out to this start in conference play? Again, 3-0 so far in conference play for Coach Moore and the Lions.
I mean, obviously you want to be set up as soon as possible to get those high rankings in the conference. But outside of that, there's the soft side of it where you want to have that confidence in your team, and it really does help when you can start so strong at the beginning of the season. Because if you start out and you're having a hard time in conference, then you're going to have a harder time mentally being excited for your next conference play. And you see there these volleyball standings on the screen. Adam, that's great to see SAGU right up there above John Brown. It didn't start that way.
Right at the top. No, it didn't. John Brown has not played yet today. So they dropped to technically tied for first place, but in that second spot. Right now, SAGU 3-0 in conference at the top, the very top for SAGU. Very good to see. Typically, we're used to seeing teams like Oklahoma City and of course, John Brown up there. But, man, that's great news. And then no team in the SAGU Athletic Conference has more wins total overall than the Lady Lions. We're going to have word here with Coach Moore after a very, very tightly contested conference game. 2 tough games in a row here for the Lady Lions in conference. Of course, last night for Oklahoma Panhandle, the SAGU Lions walked away 3-0 from that one last night in the first year for OPSU in the Senior Athletic Conference, the newly inducted team. And, of course, tonight against Wayland Baptist, tightly contested, 3-1. It's a 3-1 win, but it did not. It felt like 5 sets.
It did, and there were many points there where I thought it was going to go to 5, and that's what's so exciting about the game of volleyball. You can just never really tell, and that's why each team, no matter even what the record is, the common saying is any team can win on any given day, so you've always got to go out there offering your best.
Well, we're about to hear from Coach Moore with our courtside reporter, Kat Burns, and we're excited to see what he says after this tough win. Kat, what does Coach have to say about tonight?
Thanks, Adam. Coach Moore, when winning, it's hard to see weakness. What key factors and weaknesses still need to be fixed?
Well, one of the things is we got to finish out a set when you're up 24-20 and you let them back in. But we did finish it and got a win. It was a great win for us.
And execution was excellent this weekend. Do you think your girls are ready to be ranked amongst the top 25 teams in America?
I think that they should be getting some votes, right, with our record 12-3, and we've beaten some very good opponents. And Wayland Baptist is a team that historically is in that group, so I think that we should be looked at, if nothing else, yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your weekend. Back to you, Adam.
And there you hear it. Coach Moore thinks he should be getting some votes for the top 25 in the nation, Devin.
And to hear the confidence that he has in his team, that's so nice to hear at the beginning of the season, because sometimes it takes a younger team a little bit longer to pull that confidence out of their coach. But the fact that he's so ready to make that statement, he knows the potential his team has. He's seen it so many times. That makes me feel pretty good about the rest of the season.
We would have loved to get you some more football updates, but as our broadcast is ending, go ahead and follow us on all of our social media. Again, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We'll give you up-to-the-minute stat updates, score updates, whatever you want to know as far as SAGU sports are concerned. But for now, for our fantastic student crew, our courtside reporter, Kat Burns, my commentary partner, Devin Webb, good to have you back. I am Adam Ferguson. Tune in this next Friday, September 22nd, women's soccer versus Randall University at 1 p.m. right here on the SAGU Sports Network.